and purple have some of the best ramp payoffs in the game, and with this new Hannibal leader, you're looking at the easiest way to slam them all. So, if you're looking for how to play the new Hannibal leader from Extra Booster Memorial Collection, here's everything you need to know. Hannibal is the new blue-purple dual-color leader with 4 life and 5k power from Extra Booster Memorial Collection. He also features this sweet end-of-turn ability, which reads, you may return one of your Impel Down type characters with a cost of 2 or more to the owner's hand. Add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. This gives us an impressive mechanic for ramping, as well as the fact that the Dawn comes in active, meaning counter events are live on our opponent's turn, and they really gotta respect that. So, to start out, we need to see how good can we actually leverage this mechanic with our cheap Impel Down cards. Unfortunately, our Impel Down searchers are 1-drops like most searchers, so no repeat play shenanigans like Red Green Law to farm extra value that way. So the next best value cards we can return are these. At 2 costs, we have Prince Bellet from Extra Booster, a 2k power, 2k counter character with Dawn 1 when attacking. If you have 1 or less cards in your hand, return up to 1 character with a cost of 3 to your owner's hand. A great piece to keep returning to your hand by simply playing it for Dawn Ramp and then returning it. Then there's Domino from OPO2, a 2k power, 1k counter with Blocker, who's worse off in your hand, but at least lets you activate the ability off 2 Dawn. But what I'd recommend is instead looking at this 3-cost card. Sadie is from OPO2 and is a 3k power, 2k counter with on play a Jailer Beast type character card from your hand. Meaning you can play her for 3, play a 4-cost Jailer Beast from your hand, then return her at end of turn to your hand as a defensive 2k counter to get your active Dawn. Then use her as a 2k counter, or just keep replaying her and returning her to hand to play Jailer Beast at a discounted cost while continuing the ramp. In my opinion, this is by far the best card to use with Hannibal, because you're not only getting the ramp, keeping your 2k in hand, but you're still being able to build out your board and not wasting Dawn only to ramp in the later parts of the game. And when it comes to Jailer Beast, you have a great selection. From Extra Booster, you're getting this new Mino Chihuahua of 4-cost, 5k power, and Rush, plus the typical Jailer Beast effect of on KO ramp arrested Dawn. With the keyword of Rush on this card, it's also great for ramping with your leader to give it pseudo protection. You can attack your opponent with Mino Chihuahua, then to prevent them from killing it, you simply return it to hand at the end of turn. Then replay it next turn with Rush to get in for more combat. From OPO3, we have Mino Zebra, a 4-cost 5k power with 1k counter who has Banish. And of course, we can't forget about the OGs from OPO2, Mino Koala and Mino Tora, both 4-cost 5k power characters with 1k counter who have Blocker and Double Attack respectively. Another great thing to be doing early game when you're ramping like this is to use your extra Dawn to stagger your opponent's Dawn. As we see with Purple Luffy, one of the most powerful things you can do when you're ramping early is put your opponent's Dawn down with a card like Magellan, a 6k body for 5 that lets you minus a Dawn to minus your opponent a Dawn, and if it gets KO'd, they have to minus 2 more Dawn. So, with Hannibal, you get to play it early, then you get to ramp again to mitigate the Dawn you lost, while your opponent stays behind. And being a 6k power body for only 5, and having Impel Down trading makes him searchable, and you can return him to hand if you really need to ramp that extra Dawn. Speaking of searchers, while there are 2 Impel Down searchers, unfortunately, each of them are restricted to their own color of Impel Down, either blue or purple. So if you're going to only play one, I'd definitely recommend playing the Hannibal Searcher, a 1-cost 2k power with 1k counter that checks the top 5 for a purple Impel Down card. But don't get me wrong, I mean there's plenty of really cool stuff you can do with the blue Impel Down cards as well, and maybe you play enough of them to justify playing the blue Searcher and Buggy. Like this new Inazuma from Extra Booster, a 6-cost 7k power character with 1k counter, and at end of turn, if you have 2 or less cards in your hand, you get to draw 2 cards. You can also sequence this with your leader's ability to start your end of turn with 2 cards in hand, then draw 2 cards off Inazuma, then use your leader to bounce back a 5th card to your hand and ramp it on. Mr. 2 from OPO2 is also a great addition, allowing you to clean up small size characters while also being a lethal attacker at leader as a 5-cost 5k power character with 2k counter in hand. And speaking of Mr. 2, I would have to be out of my mind to not mention the new one from Extra Booster, which is easily a purple staple moving forward. A 4-cost 1k power character with 1k counter that says on play, add up to 1 Dawn as active from your Dawn deck, and when attacking, allows you to copy the power of one of your opponent's characters until the end of the turn, letting this 1k swing as the biggest thing your opponent controls. Unfortunately, this Mr. 2 is not Impel Down traded. I mean, contrary to all the art for both the regular and the alt art, it's not. But when you think about it, it would be absolutely insane if you could play this card, ramp it active, return it to hand, get another active, or do it after swinging to protect it to play it again later. I mean, this card's already super good. It'd be extremely pushed if it was Impel Down traded, so is what it is. But don't worry, because Extra Booster made sure to bolster us with an insane new Impel Down card in Gum Gum Champion Rifle, a 1-cost event card that says if your leader is Impel Down traded, gives your leader or a character plus 2k power for the battle. But then, your opponent returns one of their active characters to their hand. Plus trigger, return a 3 or less character to the bottom of the owner's deck. This card is crazy because it always has to be respected, thanks to your leader's ability giving you an active Dawn. Anytime you ramp, at end of turn, your opponent has to say, is there a champion rifle in hand? Am I going to lose a second attacker? Am I going to go for my final swing and then lose my blocker that they're going to then use to swing it at me aggressively? It's really, really good. It's a worst case use if like a deck like Zoro and Red Green Law end up being a top deck, where they have a bunch of 1-drops they're wheeling through. But realistically, the formats are getting bigger and bigger, or really zoning in on the 5-6 drop turn range, so you're going to have plenty of juicy targets. But we can also use that end of turn active Dawn for other cool events, like the classic Blast Breath from Starter Deck 4, which gives us 4k counter for just 1 Dawn and minusing a Dawn. Plus, for just 1 extra Dawn being left up, you can play OPO2's Hell's Judgment, a 2-cost event with Dawn -1 that lets you give up the 2 of your opponent's characters or leaders minus 3000 power for the turn. And since it's Impel Down and purple, it's easily searchable. But I start this video promising ramp galore. Bombs everywhere, okay? So let's get to the good part. What are you slamming down? When going first after 2 activations on turn 2 and turn 3, you can play any 9-drop, like Starter Deck 4's Rush Kaido on turn 4, when your opponent should only be on 6 Dawn, allowing his KO ability to be guaranteed to kill anything on board, plus give you a 10k body to slam into whatever's left, giving you a way to clear board while forcing your opponent to use their 8 Dawn turn, either rebuilding or using their leader to try to remove this huge 10k body in combat. And even though it requires you to Dawn -5 to KO and give Rush, with this deck, you'll be able to make back that Dawn no problem thanks to your leader's effect. There's also OPO1's Mihawk, a 9-cost 9k power character that on play bottom decks a character who costs 7 or less. Just like Kaido, it comes down while your opponent's on 6 Dawn in your 4th turn, which means it'll definitely have a target at the bottom deck that's worth something at that point in the game, and you don't have to minus any Dawn. OPO6's 9-cost Sanji is a great value threat, a 9k power character that lets you on play reveal the top card of your deck and play a character with cost 9 or less that you reveal. On some of your lower ends, you have other great value cards like OPO6's Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, an event that bottom decks 2 of your opponent's characters cost 6 or less, letting you 2-for-1 your opponent, while also having trigger bottom deck a 5 or less. There's Starter Deck 10's Eustace Captain Kidd, an 8k power character with on play and on attack, Dawn -1. Gives your leader 1k power until the start of your next turn. OPO3's got Soga King, a 7-cost 6k power character with 1k counter, and on play return a 6-cost or less character to its owner's hand. Then draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. But maybe you don't care about like curving perfectly into bombs. Maybe you care about the biggest of the big, the 10 drops, baby. Okay. Here's what we got. Easily is both the blue Kaidos that are 10 drops. These Kaidos from OPO4 and OPO5 let you establish for 10 Dawn a 12k body that will either draw you 4 cards or bounce an 8 or less and a 3 or less character to their owner's hand. And of course, between the giant godlike 9 to 10 drop characters you're going to drop and the small little guys early game are going to play for value, there's great tools lying in between, like Starter Deck 4's Blocker Queen, Starter Deck 10's Blocker Law, OPO5's Blocker Kid, plus OPO6's New Pudding, and outside of any bombs you're particularly playing in a turn, all this extra ramp will give you extra Dawn to equip the characters and really force through some pressure, whether that's on the turns you do it, on tapping, or because you played your bombs early and now you're on tapping with all this Dawn you don't really need to spend on a character. And if you're looking for a great place to start, here's a few lists that'll get you on your way. This first one is a nice mid-range game plan around Impel Down, while this second one is an all-in ramp till you can't strategy. And if you're looking for more guides on how to play the extra booster leaders or more fun One Piece content, make sure to subscribe and check out the channel.